Coming to you live from the headquarters of the Global Health Network and across the World Wide Web. It's America's longest-running radio program dedicated to your health and wellness. Now, the woman who's changing the face of healthcare each and every day. Here's Deborah Ray.
Well, we weren't able to track him down, but we'll accept his apologies. DeWayne McCulley joining us today. He's an engineer who ended up in a diabetic coma, a blood sugar of 1,337, and he, along the way, become a staunch health educator. Death to Diabetes, the 6 stages of type 2 diabetes control and reversal by 10 easy steps, with DeWayne McCulley joining us today, right here on Healthy Talk Radio.
It's time for more Healthy Talk Radio with Deborah Ray.
Well, if an application grant by Washington University in St. Louis to NIH was accurate, 10% of the entire U.S. population will be type 2 diabetic by the end of this year. And as disturbingly, 40 to 50% pre-diabetic. So what do you need to know from someone who has done his homework, been there personally? His mission is to educate many people about their treatment options. The book, Death to Diabetes, and the author, noted health educator, engineer DeWayne McCulley joining us today. DeWayne, hello and welcome.
Yes, hello. Glad to be here.
Nice to have you join us.
Thank you.
So you had some changes in your professional life and started eating a little differently, started having a little more lack of activity. And
exactly, right, yeah.
One fateful day, wow, you had a huge healthcare crisis. Tell us the story, DeWayne.
Back in 2002, I put on, like you mentioned, I put on some weight, maybe 30 or 40 pounds over a 10-year period of time. And, I'm working hard as an engineer, traveling and everything. And, you start to eat poorly, you take shortcuts, and I just had a physical, and everything seemed to be fine. And one morning I woke up and I couldn't move, and I thought maybe I'd pinched a nerve or something. But something told me to call the ambulance, call 911, and next thing I knew, I was waking up about a day or so later, and the doctor said I went into a diabetic coma.
Wow.
And my blood sugar level was 1,337. And they said, DeWayne, you're a diabetic, and you'll be on insulin the rest of your life. And unfortunately, we have to tell you this, we didn't think you would make it, but since you did come out of the coma, you're going to have to make some decisions concerning your legs and your eyesight and your kidneys. And so, that was, a heck of a shock to get hit with all of that. And so I was in a hospital about 13 days in intensive care. And once I was able to, the nurses taught me how to inject myself with insulin because
Sure.
I had a fear of needles
Sure.
I had to overcome. And my mother came up from Pennsylvania. My daughter left her job in Pittsburgh to come take care of me because the damage that had been done to my legs, I couldn't drive, and my daughter had to give me a magnifying glass because of problems with my eyesight, and it was just I don't know how to tell you. It's very scary because you could tell by the look in the doctor's face that they couldn't help me, and basically that the only thing I could do was to take the medication. I was on Lipitor because my cholesterol was off the charts. I was on Coumadin because I had deep vein thrombosis and 2 serious blood clot issues, and I was taking 2 types of insulin 4 times a day.
The most intriguing part of this was part of your recovery, and of course, you learned firsthand, Wayne, that when that blood sugar began to drop, you needed to do something in terms of getting that level back up, or suffer that same fate. Until you found your mother's Brussels sprouts. I love the story. Tell us.
My mother And see, a lot of people ask me, DeWayne, how'd you beat a disease that has no cure? And I said, number one is God, and number two is my mother, and number three is my daughter. And they took over my household, and we grew up near a farm, and my mother made me go to the grocery store and buy a bunch of Brussels sprouts and broccoli and spinach, the three main foods I hated. And she said, son, you don't have any choice here. This is what you're going to eat. And she didn't do it, and I know I talked to her later, because she thought it would help my diabetes. It was her way of taking over the household and saying, there's some new rules here, and this is the way we were brought up, and this is what you're going to eat. And I found out later in my research that it turns out, coincidentally, that Brussels sprouts contains a specific phytonutrient that helps to address insulin resistance. It turns out that broccoli contains one of the highest levels of chromium, and spinach happens to contain an enzyme that helps to repair the gastrointestinal tract. I refer to them as the trinity of vegetables.
So you talk in depth to diabetes. I mean, what that meant to your personal blood sugar after you ate the Brussels sprouts, DeWayne.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, the thing is, I was surprised that once I started, my mother made me eat the Brussels sprouts for breakfast, and that was hard for me to do. And when I went to measure my blood sugar 2 hours later, I was shocked to see that my blood sugar had actually come down 200 points, almost 200 points. And I said, wow. But I thought I'd made a mistake, and my daughter retested me, and it was maybe 190 points. So I called my doctor, and he said, DeWayne, that's an anomaly. What are you eating? And I said, my mother's making me eat Brussels sprouts. And he goes, what? You're eating Brussels sprouts for breakfast? Go back to the hospital plan. Go back to the plan we put you on, which is a grain-based diet plan.
Right. The feedlot, yes.
The curse of America.
The feedlot, yes.
But I wasn't going to argue with my mother. So I felt that I'll continue to eat the Brussels sprouts until my blood sugar went back up. Then I would tell my mother, hey, Mom, I got to go back and follow what the doctor says. But with each passing day, my blood sugar would drop, let's say 30 points, 40 points. And at that time, my blood sugar average was around, let's say, 460, 455. And over a period of the next couple of weeks, it just slowly worked itself down to the normal range of 80 to 100. Now, I was still on insulin, though. Right. I was still taking the 4 shots a day.
Right.
And once I got back to normal, I said, okay, so why am I still taking this insulin? When I called the doctor, he was upset. He goes, DeWayne, what are you doing? You're messing with your life. Your mother, she's not a doctor. You got to listen to me. And I go, okay, you haven't met my mother. She's here in my house. I got to do what she said. And I kind of used my mother as an excuse for not following a hospital plan. And during the next 2.5 weeks, because I was testing my blood sugar 8-9 times a day instead of 3-4 times a day, because that's what engineers do. We collect data.
Sure.
And the data supported what I was doing, even though the doctor said it didn't. And within a matter of, I say, about 2.5, 3 weeks, I was able to wean myself off the insulin, maybe about 4 weeks. 1 to 2 units a day, I would reduce the insulin, not a lot. And as long as my blood sugar didn't spike, I continued to reduce 1 to 2 units, nothing major. And I gradually went from 60 units a day to 0. And after 3.5 months, I was off insulin. Took another month to get off Coumadin, and about another month or so to get off the Lipitor.
Wow.
And the doctors were upset with me, and they said, DeWayne, we don't know why this is happening, but you're in denial of this disease. There is no cure. You will always be a diabetic, and you will be back on insulin in 3 months. I said, wow, really? They said, yes. So 3 months went by, went in for a physical. My hemoglobin A1C was better than my doctor's. They were shocked. They said, well, DeWayne, give it 3 more months. Then it was 6 months. Well, it's been 5 years, Deborah, and they're still waiting. So I don't take any medication, and the American Diabetes Association heard about my story when I hit the newspapers.
Right.
And went down there, and they actually asked me to volunteer to run a diabetic support group. People in the support group said, okay, you eating spinach for breakfast? I said, yeah. But then I said, look, I'm an engineer, I'm not a doctor, so I don't think this will work for you. This is what worked for me. And they said, well, DeWayne, we ain't got nothing to lose. You know, I said, well, go talk to your doctor now because I don't want anyone suing me. Well,
DeWayne,
several people tried they couldn't eat the Brussels sprouts. They tried broccoli or spinach.
DeWayne, hold that thought. We'll come back. Death to Diabetes, DeWayne McCulley on Healthy Talk Radio.